episode 102. It's like multiple syllables now. That's a challenge. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swick.
How's it going, Dave? At least it's like a reset. You know, you're starting from like 1, 2, 3, 4 again. So
100 is a lot of letters and words.
It's okay. You'll get the hang of it.
So, yeah.
Around 199, and then
and then I'll be complaining about that later. So. All right, we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that posts every Thursday, 6 a.m. Eastern Time on podcast services of your choice. You can follow us on social medias that are all linked in the show notes. You can also just go to our website, digitaldaysgaming.com. If you are able to share the show or review the show at all, that's super, super helpful. Somebody just actually did a review recently. Thank you. So the more reviews they get, the more we move up the algorithm when people are searching for stuff. And as we've learned over the last week or two, there's some good algorithms and there's some bad algorithms. So I would like to be on the good algorithm side of people sharing this stuff. But we're also live streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/digitaldaysgaming, where we are a Twitch affiliate. And we're not even close to the Twitch leaks of people that have like the numbers that I saw in some of those spreadsheets. So I would like to be even in like the top 99% of that number. That would be fantastic. Yeah. And you can help us with that by giving us a subscription on Twitch if you have Amazon and Twitch linked, so you have Twitch Prime, or you can just sub to us directly if you so choose through Twitch. So all of those things are helpful as well. But it's going to be a little bit of a lighter show. Seems to be the calm before the fall holiday gaming storm. I don't really think we're going to see a lot of news heavy hitters the next 5-6 weeks.
No, not until Game
Awards.
Awards.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty bland. But there's definitely a couple things to talk about, and there's lots of stuff coming, so there's stuff to play. I just have to get the motivation to play games. But for now, something that I feel like we've talked about at least every other week, now finally being confirmed is a little helpful.
Yeah, I think this is probably like the third time we've talked about this, but this is finally a confirmation. It's just been leaks. But the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy remasters, or whatever you want to call them, have been confirmed by Rockstar. They will give more information in a few weeks, but there's already been leaks that have pinpointed like a early December release. I believe the first or second week of December, which that is usually not a good time to release, except if you're Rockstar. You can release Grand Theft Auto any time of the year and you'll do fine.
Yeah, this is like a token, like last minute gift idea for the friend that you have that's a gamer.
Yeah, or just this person who used to play games 20 years ago.
Yep. Significant other, like looking for something to get their spouse that they're kind of running out of ideas, and they've got another $50 or $60 to spend, and they're just like, oh well, he still has that PlayStation 4 laying around, like, yeah. Oh, maybe he'll, like, I remember getting mad at him for throwing some woman out of the car in this game. I'm gonna buy it for him.
Yeah, so this is gonna be the perfect thing for people, but it's Grand Theft Auto 3 Vice City San Andreas being remastered, though I feel like people need to take a step back from what they're talking about for remastered. I think people think Blue Point when they think remastered, and we're not getting that. They are very clear with saying it will maintain the look and feel of the PS2 games, which if it looks like a PS2 game and it feels like a PS2 game, it's a PS2 game. It's just, gonna probably be at a higher resolution and have 60 frames per second. And the fun bonus of missing some tracks from the original games,
and lack of licensed music.
Yeah, like they were pretty good last time, but they were still missing a few songs every time, and I'm sure it just gets worse.
And then before you say what I think you're going to say next, is we talked about like what is Rockstar going to do to Rockstar? Like people were like, oh, how are they going to circumvent this or do this? And now on the bullet point you put on here is that Rockstar will be delisting the current versions of the game from the digital store.
Yeah.
That's kind of shady.
Yeah, I'm wondering, I guess we'll find out this week, because this was announced last week, and they said the following week we'll delist everything. I wonder if it counts as those like PS2 remasters that Sony like put up on a PS4 a couple years ago, because we know the Steam versions of these games are being removed for sure. But I wonder what it looks like, because I think you can pick up San Andreas on the Xbox One right now. So, and that's just a straight up, like, here is the old game. So I wonder if that's going away.
Well, that's almost just like a backwards compatibility version of the game we're running, right?
Yeah. And then also since they re-released like those mobile games on the like newer consoles at the time, so I'm wondering if those are the ones that are going to be taken from the consoles. But Rockstar gets away with this. I think them removing these shows you that it's going to be more lined up with how those look. If they're like, well, we don't want two games that look damn near identical on the marketplace.
Well, they also don't. They don't want somebody like they want them to buy the trilogy for whatever quality of life are in there, and like we've talked about the atrociousness of both of these stores, Sony's and Microsoft stores. If you just start searching Grand Theft Auto 3 or whatever, like what are you going to come up with? You don't want what I call SKU shock, where like all of a sudden there's like 4 different versions of the game that you can buy.
Yeah,
like nobody wants that. So
especially on the PlayStation, I believe their cover is like the PS2 cover, like with the PS2 logo, which will just add more confusion to it. So I understand why they're doing it. It just sucks that they're doing that, but whatever. If you have it, you'll still be able to re-download it if you have those versions of the game. It's that no.
So now this just makes one of those hard drives even more valuable.
Yeah, potentially.
If you got a hard drive with PT and Grand Theft Auto 3 on it, you got gold.
Do you have any expectations for these, or are you trying to keep it in check? I don't know how. I really loved growing up with the Grand Theft Auto games, but I know they can't do much.
Yeah, I mean their place in video game history is cemented in terms of what they did and how they evolved gaming. I feel like this is just them trying to pad time before GTA 6. Like this is all they're doing is they're just padding time. Like we couldn't get GTA 6 done. We were trying to give you guys the remaster that you guys said you wanted. We were trying to add some more online stuff to GTA 5, and GTA 6 will be here in 2026.
Yeah, no, it definitely does, because if they really wanted to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Grand Theft Auto 3, they would do a full remaster, but this is just an easier way to buy time. And I honestly think if they would do a full remaster of Vice City or San Andreas, that could potentially overshadow GTA 5 being re-released for the third time.
Do you think they have the team or the talent depth to do a full remaster at Rockstar right now?
Yeah, it's hard. They have a lot of studios that only work on Grand Theft Auto.
Correct.
To where if they aren't actively working on Grand Theft Auto 6 right now, yes, they have enough people. But because Grand Theft Auto's the last 3 iterations take several years and thousands of people, I don't know if they could get away with doing that without being like, Grand Theft Auto 6 is now delayed 3 more years. When's the release date? I don't know, but it's 3 years later than we were expecting it to be.
Yeah, and I think that they would be, this is just my perception, they'd be too proud to let somebody else work on it.
Potentially, yeah, especially if it was like a full from the ground up remaster. I just would love to see like Chinatown Wars and Vice City Stories, Liberty City Stories get some love. I think we're really close to like getting a Grand Theft Auto 4 remaster. I would love for someone to go over that game again, because that game is probably aged worse than San Andreas and Vice City.
How much do you think the climate, the public relation climate today in 2021 is factoring into the difference between remaking it and remastering it? So like remastering it is like you said, like, oh, it's shinier and it runs better, but it's the same game. So that way they can just be like, oh, well, we didn't want to change anything, or we didn't change anything. So that's why we didn't remake the whole game. Versus if they remade the whole game, there'd be stuff in there that there would be expectations or necessary changes that would need to be made to the game.
Well, we saw that with Final Fantasy VII when they remade that game. They changed some things as best they could because some stuff has aged poorly, either PC culture wise or just story wise, gameplay wise, needed to be changed. So I can see that kind of playing a part of it, of just like, okay, if we rebuild it from the ground up,
we'd have to cut this, and cut this, cut this, and cut this. And they're like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. And then especially like there's been a lot of changeover with like the Housers and stuff. So the people that were like fundamental components of those games wouldn't be there. So I wonder if the Rockstar fan base would accept a Vice City built from the ground up and it doesn't have like the original writers or directors.
I 100% agree. I feel like that like a lot of these games, whether it's these iconic games for a long time, or franchises, that there are certain things that are kind of just untouchable, similar to like Link in The Legend of Zelda. Like, he can never talk. I feel like, because if he ever does talk, all people are going to be irritated by is what his voice is or isn't.
Yeah.
Similar to the, whatever happens with Mario down the road, like that core voice actor that's been doing that. I would assume that either if he passes on or chooses not to do any more work with Mario, they're just going to use thousands of hours of lines that they already have. Like, they can't just give a new voice to Mario. And I think GTA is kind of in this thing as well, is like each of these games are their independent time capsules.
Completely agree. It's a time
that hold
capsule.
things. So
especially there's specific performances in there that are kind of parodies of the time. So redoing that now sometimes probably wouldn't make sense. And just stuff they were able to get away with back then that they wouldn't be able to get away with now. The only way they can get away with it now is if, like, we're just re-releasing it for future.
Well, it's
generations.
like you've always talked about with Bully. Like, you would love to see Bully get a 2020 upscaling or but then you're like, some of the stuff that goes on in that game just can't happen.
Yeah, like, people want like a sequel to Bully, and I feel like a sequel to Bully would be too tame for what the original was, because it has to be. And then re-releasing Bully, I feel like, is way more controversial than this, because you're just going to have new eyes being like, all right, let me see what this Bully game is now, since it's more accessible, and it'll just lead to awkwardness. But I guess we'll find out in a couple weeks exactly what that's going to look like, but I'm holding my expectations very, very low for what this is going to be.
I think if it was more than just basic stuff, I think that they would do like a countdown or an announcement like they've done previously for like their trailers and stuff like that. Like, if they knew that they had something really cool and new and innovative, I think that we would know about it ahead of time, versus like, yeah, we've got something to tell you and we're ready. And this could be one of those things where I don't know when the exact anniversary is for a GTA game coming up this year. I'm sure it's soon, but this would be one of those things where, hey, in order to celebrate this is downloadable now. Like I could definitely see something like that happening.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, the way that they rolled this out is very on Rockstar, but lines up with what we should expect. Because Grand Theft Auto 5 leaked hella early, for, when it was they're announcing that, but then they still went through their PR thing of this, like, no, here's a countdown, here's a specific day, here's.
And they still controlled the internet when they did it.
Yeah, but this one, they're just like, yeah, it's leaked. Here's just like a tweet saying that it exists. We'll get you guys in a couple weeks. I think that lines up with what we're seeing. And then also, it's coming out in December, so they would have stuff prepared, obviously, already, but they were just like, like, who cares? All right.
Yeah, I think they're just focused on the PS5 release of GTA 5 right now. Like, and is that soon? Like, next month?
No, that got delayed to March.
March, okay.
Yeah, that was supposed to come out next month, but it got delayed to March.
That's right, okay.
Okay, so the next story we got, so a couple months ago now, there was a report that the creator of Yakuza was being talked to by NetEase to bring him over there to make his own studio, and nothing really happened from that other than there were rumors, but as of last week, it was announced that Nagoshi, the creator of Yakuza, and Sato, the producer of Yakuza, were leaving Sega. So NetEase must have pulled him away, or if NetEase didn't actually pull them, they realized there's opportunity out there and decided now's the time to leave. But they've been with Yakuza since the beginning, and we're talking about a franchise that goes back to the PS2 era. So even if it isn't NetEase thing, this is just creative people probably wanting to do something different. And this will be their opportunity to do that. Sega announced, though, that Yakuza Like a Dragon is getting a sequel. So they wanted to kind of calm people down, because when you get the creator leaving from a franchise, obviously that's going to cause some panic. But this I don't know, this is bittersweet, I like where Like a Dragon is going, so I imagine that is almost a completely different team. than the regular Yakuza games.
Well, they talked about having 2 concurrent teams now, right?
Basically, yeah. So like I loved Like a Dragon. It was a departure from the series, but it was great. But it is a shame to see like the creator leave. But
was this guy working on both Yakuza games though? Like both kind of like
the mainline ones, he definitely was. I think he was just a producer on the Like a Dragon series.
So that could be part of the thing of where they're like, hey, we're going to take Yakuza this direction, and maybe he doesn't want to go that direction with it. And then the other thing, too, is like they've had some image and likeness issues the last couple games,
with
right?
Judgment specifically, which is an offshoot of Yakuza.
Right.
Yeah, they've had the issue where they can't put the game on PC because the likeness for the one guy or for the main protagonist, and then they also had like one of the voice actors for the game get busted for drugs, so then they had to patch him out of the first game. And now that whole franchise is kind of up in the air because they want to release it on PC and get more sales, but they tied it to the protagonist that can't use his image on PC.
I saw reports that they want to like Sega wants to almost make PC its primary platform,
and that's
right?
the problem because Judgment is a hit, but they can't really continue it unless they talk to this person. And then also like the current star, he's like a pop star in Japan, or a former pop star, and Sega like would tie like product placement to the Yakuza games, but they can't do that with this one unless that star already has a deal with that company. So like they're kind of locked in with this person. So
he just like they might just be tired of all the red tape they have to go through with the Yakuza stuff too.
Yeah, so yeah, especially like Judgment was like their chance to do something different, and now it's kind of become a headache, and they need to figure that stuff out. So it makes sense that especially just he's been with the studio for forever. That they would just leave and do their own thing. So yeah, I know you're not the biggest Yakuza fan. I don't think
no, but I mean the stuff fascinates me of like how successful it is and changing directions. And like why it's in chat right now talking about maybe they're going to go to. I'm guessing he's saying maybe they're going to go to Capcom.
Potentially, yeah. I probably should look more into like where they are heading. But yeah.
So, but I know it'd be. I guess, I know you like the Yakuza stuff, so I think that whatever studio this guy joins, whatever game they bring out would be pretty high up on your excited for lists, right?
Yeah, definitely whatever he does, I'm going to be interested in and give it a shot. Especially, like, I'm glad, the reason Like a Dragon is so good, at least in my opinion, is it's different enough from the mainline Yakuza games. So...
Right.
Just seeing what happens when the franchise does something different, how interesting it could be. I'm interested to see what the creator can do with a new IP. Or, honestly, this guy's been in the industry so long, he could just be done. He could just, go into an advisor role. If he did sign... Capcom announced a switch to focus on PC. But, like, he could have just decided, like, I'm done with gaming. Like, he's at close to the retirement age, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about 22 years of being probably like a pretty high up person for them. Then okay, yeah, I got Sega and Capcom confused. My bad. But like if this guy like got out of college maybe, and you're talking about he's like possibly in his late 40s. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say his late 40s, early 50s. He's at retirement age, to your point.
Yeah.
Of like the ideal number, and I'm sure with the success of Yakuza, his pension's probably pretty good.
Yeah, and potential residuals. Who knows, like what type of deals he might have. Yeah, especially we just saw with the developer for Bylon Wonderland. Before that, he was like with the Sonic team, I believe. He basically is retiring from like the traditional industry, and he just wants to code his own games. And he doesn't even know if he's going to release those games to the public, but he just wants to like have fun and tinker as much as he can. And this guy might be in the same situation of just like, I'm just going to go do my own thing. If games come out from it, cool, but I will find out eventually. Or he just disappears into the background. But yeah, so that's an update on Yakuza. And then the next one, we got some GameIndustry.biz interviews that happened that are PlayStation related. The first one is from Jade Raymond. She basically went to talk about what is going to be the pillars for the game her studio's making, which is Haven Entertainment Studios, and they have an exclusivity deal with PlayStation to create a new IP. So,
she's the person that was pretty high up for Stadia that left, right?
Yeah, before that, EA, and before that, Ubisoft. So, like, with Assassin's Creed, a couple Star Wars games, and then was in charge of building out Stadia. So, this kind of makes sense when you add the Stadia bit to it, where there might be some ideas from what they were trying to do at Stadia bleeding into this thing. So, basically, the two important pillars are the social platform and the remixing as a idea. The first quote is basically what they're looking at is to build their game as a social platform. The pandemic had proven that gameplay is the social glue that binds communities, especially for a younger generation. This is what you do and how you make your friends hang out. This is something we really want to build and design for. The second thing is thinking about the remix generation. It started a while ago. There was an age of self-expression where you're designing Nike ID shoes. We're reading our friend's blog rather than professional journalists. And I think that has continued to go further with things like TikTok. That's another thing that's at the heart of this IP. It's beyond user-generated content. It's about taking self-expression and remix content to the next level. So, saying that, my first response before I get yours is this game is probably super far away if it's being built as like a social platform with like remixing and based on how long it takes to like a game like Dreams to exist.
Yeah, and it also sounds like she's trying to make a better version of Dreams.
Potentially, or at least we know these are the pillars she's building
or
on.
a version of Dreams that is something more that you play and interact with versus build with, I guess would be like my initial thought. Because I feel like Dreams is like a video game building platform. And then whatever this game may or may not be with TikTok and personalized blogs and stuff like that, this might be something you interact with a little bit more. Again, my opinion, I don't think that a video game can become a social media platform ever.
Yeah, I mean, the closest we got is Fortnite for the most part. That hit a level to where people were using that as basically a platform.
But they were still going there to play the game.
They were, but Epic has had great success with, like, here's concerts, here's clubhouses, that sort of thing. And that stuff exists, but Fortnite is a special case.
Right, but it sounds like she's almost thinking that these people will create something in the game and share it for other people to either consume or interact with. And I don't think that can work. But yeah. I'm also a 38-year-old person that may or may not know what Owen will be playing in 10 years.
Has he gotten to Roblox yet? Because that's basically what Roblox is turned into.
A little bit, yeah.
The crazy thing with like Roblox is it's like exactly what Media Molecule has been trying to do forever, but with way less refinement. Like it almost hurt like Media Molecule for making stuff look AAA, and when you then look at Roblox, which is just like here's just a mess of tools.
Well, the irony of it is the only time that he really worries about Roblox is when he's with his cousins, and his cousins play Roblox, and so it's like it's not on his mind until somebody else says it. And he goes, "Oh yeah, I want to play that." I'm like, okay, but
yeah. So maybe they're looking to be the next Roblox, which is I feel like something that like Dreams was chasing, but was almost too complicated for what that market actually wants.
Obviously, she's pitching something super interesting to get that exclusivity deal from Sony. I don't like. I'd have to go through her resume and see, and this is no knock on her at all. I don't see or think, in my opinion, that she has the pedigree to like a Kojima pedigree. It's so there's something that she's obviously that she's showing that is interesting people. On top of the fact of like we've talked about for months, Sony is lacking a exclusive or first party online platform.
Yeah. And
like severely, actually Xbox is too currently, but Halo's on the horizon. So
yeah, well,
as a potential success
with this particular thing, it kind of excites me because my one thing is like I was like Sony's not taking any risks doing anything. This sounds like this could be a risky thing, unless this just turns into like, hey, it's a first person shooter that you can make.
Right. It's also again it's a risky thing, but it's like, all right, if it doesn't work, like that studio, we're just not working with them anymore. They're not a PlayStation studio.
Yeah, but right now, especially when you have like Jim Ryan previously saying like we only want big AAA games to then be like, okay, we're gonna float some money to this company, see what happens. Gives me at least a little bit hope of like for Media Molecule, because Media Molecule in this current regime, I always say I'm worried about. I don't think Sony will ever close Media Molecule.
They're in the Europe bubble. They're safe automatically.
Well, no, I don't. I don't think they'll ever like close Media Molecule, but I can see them look at Media Molecule with a bigger magnifying glass.
I got a bad feeling if we don't hear something from Media Molecule in the next 2 years, that we're gonna start seeing like a Jason Schreier report of like Media Molecule being like an auxiliary studio of like, oh, go help them get factions running. Go help them get God of War's like next realm built.
Well, I can now see with Jade Raymond talking about this to where her game, the Haven thing, turns into like Haven and Media Molecule presents, like a co-development thing, because they have the tool set, they have the experience. So they could be very helpful in this scenario, which would lead them to probably being an auxiliary team.
If Sony is trying to make the next TikTok video game, sorry, like I just don't think it. No, that for me that would just be a swing and a miss. So
yeah, at least they're going for it. At least with this studio, we don't know exactly what that means financially for them, and it might be nothing. But the fact that this is gonna take time. Like the studio was just formed this year. This concept sounds like it could be something that's going to take time. So at least Sony's willing to invest in this and in a product that might be like 3-4 years away. As long as they don't name it and put out a teaser within the next like year or so, and then go into development, quietness for.
It's ready when it's ready.
Yeah. Hopefully, I feel like we're getting to the point where Sony's getting a little bit better at like not announcing stuff too early. I mean, they still haven't announced Wolverine, but it's Insomniac, so I trust Insomniac. But they haven't announced factions yet. They're waiting until that shit is damn near ready, and then they're
that's gonna be one of those things. Especially, I don't know. Like, I don't know what they're doing with that. Like,
I could see factions being shadow dropped. Like, when it gets announced,
be a state of play, and it comes out next Tuesday. What?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's what they're waiting for it, because it works for so many like multiplayer games. So, all right, game industry wasn't done with their PlayStation stuff. They actually had a fireside chat with Jim Ryan.
I hate this term.
I know, but it was probably the best, even though there was some controversy that came from it. Best interview Jim Ryan's done. Since he's been kind of in charge. But the biggest takeaway from this is a lot of places were saying he's frustrated that there's kind of like a cap on how well PlayStation Studio games can do. So he wants PlayStation IPs to sell in the tens of millions, the hundreds of millions. But currently, right now, they're kind of capped in the 10 to 20 million per game, range, which is a big improvement compared to like the PS3 days, where a successful PlayStation release would be 2 to 3
5,
million.
6, 2 to 4,
But yeah, so there was the biggest takeaway from this is just he is very focused on building out those franchises that are going to be here for a while and are capable of selling tens of millions of copies. I just wanted to get your opinion. Do you think they have anything that isn't Spider-Man and Wolverine that can do that now? Because I don't. I feel bad saying it. Like, I think they're the 10 to 20 million is actually really good for the IPs they have right now.
Yeah, I to be honest with you, I don't think there's any video game console IP that can do that.
Except Mario, Zelda, Pokemon.
Yeah, but not the numbers that he's talking about, though, like per game.
Okay, hold on. Let me, cart switch. Nintendo can do those. Nintendo can do the tens and tens of millions. He's talking about 100 millions,
okay.
but before that he said tens of tens.
If you're talking about something like a game consistently getting 10 million copies, Nintendo can. Whether it's Mario Kart or Mario or Zelda, or you're like, yes, absolutely. Nintendo can do that with the notoriety of the and the safety of the character of Mario and the safety net of Zelda. I'm sorry, of Nintendo, of the broad perspective of like Owen can play, and there's a base level of that what Owen can do, and then there's still a super deep fun game for me, getting near 40 to do. Like there's a huge spectrum there, like 100% they can do that. But in terms of like hundreds of millions of people, like I think that he's speaking with a very, very broad brush again.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he has a chance for that, like ever.
Yeah.
On top of, there's not a chance for either platform of console to sell. Like you're talking about, even if it was the most successful game on PS4, you'd have to have it have a plus 80% attachment rate, which would be absurd.
Yeah, which the only one that can get close to that is again Nintendo, who But people buy. See, the thing about it is that like even like myself, people buy a Nintendo, whether it's a 64, a Wii U, a Switch, whatever it is, because of Zelda and Mario. That's what I mean.
Like that's why.
Do you think they're on the path now that they have one of those franchises that can break through the Mario thing?
No. Yeah. Because even like Spider-Man's not technically theirs.
Yeah, and that's my thing. That's why I said, like, excluding Spider-Man and Wolverine, which will break 10 million easily.
If Spider-Man does start to climb to that point, Marvel's going to be like, all right, Sony, you need to pay up. Like, we know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, and that's great that you're doing it. We appreciate you're doing it, but there has to be some compensation for us as well.
Yeah.
Versus, like, Nintendo is, like, that Mario is theirs, and nobody can touch it. If you make a fake version of it, they slap you with a lawsuit until you're spinning around like a dizzy child.
Yeah. The exact quote is, one of the quotes from Jim Ryan is, I think some of the art that our studios are making is some of the finest entertainment that has been made in the world. And to kind of gate the audience for the wonderful art, wonderful entertainment that our studios are making, to gate that audience for that at 20 or 30 million frustrates me. I'd love to see a world where hundreds of millions of people can enjoy those games. But even when he says 20 to 30 million, the PlayStation franchises don't hit that. Like, no. So I think that should be his next target. It would be like the 20 million, but I don't think they have that, especially like, I pulled up the Switch numbers for Mario Kart. They're 37.
It's like 9.5, right?
Mario Kart?
Yeah.
Mario Kart 8 is 37 million copies sold.
Okay.
Animal Crossing.
I think it was 8 million in a year. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Animal Crossing, 33 million. And that came out last year.
How many Switches are there? Like, how many have they said how many Switches they've sold?
Yeah, let me pull that up.
Because that's the thing that's always fascinating me is like we've talked about. I remember years ago, like the PS3 era, like Gran Turismo had like an 8% attach rate, which was like absurdly high.
They're just under 90 million, so they're around 89 million Switches out there. Right.
So to your point, that means half of the people that buy a Switch buy Mario Kart.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And then 1/3 buy Animal Crossing. 1/3 by Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. 1/3 bought Zelda. Zelda's at 23 million, but like, it's still like.
But Breath of the Wild is a very different game.
Yeah, it's the Zelda games are kind of interesting because it's one of those things where it's like stealthily a hardcore game, but because it's Zelda, it sells well. But it's like a really dense game.
And I think that, but the biggest thing I think that's fascinating, I would love to see about Zelda is people buy Switches because they're, buy a new Nintendo platform because a Zelda game is coming. But until that comes, they buy Mario Kart or they buy Galaxy or they buy Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze or whatever it is. Like, like a game, like a marquee Nintendo franchise, like not being successful.
Yeah.
Is what Sony would take as a huge success for an exclusive platform game for them.
Yeah, and I wonder how much it kind of hurt Zelda, which it's at 23 million as of this reporting.
Like what's Mario Odyssey at?
Mario Odyssey's at 21 million.
Okay.
But I'm wondering if it being like a launch title hurts it because because
well, Mario Kart 8 wasn't Mario Kart 8 was is that Wii U and Switch sales?
No, those are just the Switch sales because it's a different SKU.
Okay.
But I wonder if something like a Zelda gets hurt by being so early in the generation, and then people are like, "Oh, Zelda 2's coming out," or Breath of the Wild 2's coming out, so they hold back.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like.
But even like to your point, like Odyssey is like if Sony or Xbox could make a game that sold 21 million copies, like they would do backflips to do it. Like they would figure out whatever they could, and like. That's 20 million copies for Odyssey is considered a slow Mario game, right?
Yeah, I would imagine so, especially if you go back to like the history. I would pull up Wii sales, but that is such a skewed fucking thing.
Well, and then the other part is like I would think that if anybody the other fascinating part about the number is that these games don't go on sale.
No, I know, that's crazy. But I can understand
the used market for them is still super high.
I can understand like Jim Ryan's frustrations with stuff of just like they put so much work into high quality like games that you can definitely say are art, and then just knowing it's like if we hit 10 million like that we're done basically.
You've got a game of the year contender if you hit 10 million.
Yeah, but that's like their cap right now, and I'm just wondering if they have anything. I don't think they have anything now that we know about that could break through to like Mario levels.
They would have to. I think if any of them would be able to do it, they would have to. And this sucks because a lot of people get fatigued by it. They would almost have to annualize a character.
Yeah, they would have to
start building a foundation.
Yeah, they would need to like roadmap the next like 3 or 4 game releases for a character without stating.
Like they might be able to do it with Ratchet, okay, but they would have to every June, another Ratchet and Clank game would have to come out at the quality of Rift Apart or better.
Yeah,
each time.
Yeah, they would have to constantly top themselves, but also do what they do with Mario, where they drastically put him in different scenarios, and it just works because it's Mario. They would have to do something. I guess I would probably, because I don't want to count the Marvel characters at all, like because that's their own separate.
Well,
thing.
That's why I was saying Ratchet. Like at least Sony owns Ratchet.
Yeah, Ratchet would probably be the close to do the things, but
he's the most relatable. Like, but at the same time, he's always going to be. If they tried to do that, and even to this day, it still happens. Like he is considered a Mario clone to an extent.
I guess if every 3D platformer gets thrown into a clone, but I wouldn't say clone for that. But what I think they would have to do is just hit marketing like crazy in terms of not just like, oh, here's a commercial every 2 seconds. I mean, toys, cartoons. They would need to go full on and basically like fake it till you make it sort of scenario to where it's just like you can't go anywhere without seeing Ratchet and Clank.
Because they can't do it with somebody like Nathan Drake or Uncharted franchise because of like the weapons and
Last of Us is too dark.
Correct. Yeah.
I
think the only chance they have would be realistically the only chance they would have would be Ratchet and Sly.
Yeah, and again, Sly would need to be plastered everywhere. Like they would have to hit every marketing tie-in that they could to just make people think like, oh shit, yeah, I know Sly Cooper, even though there's a good majority of people that aren't going to know.
You have to appeal to the 8-year-old as well as the 40-year-old. Yeah. Like and then everybody in between. You have to be able to get a kid, like a little kid, like a kindergartner, to want to play your game, but be able to also keep the mindset and the entertainment of a 14 to 21-year-old, which is almost impossible right now, and then also have enough of a challenge for players like you and I.
Yeah, because
and that's whether you like it or not. Like that's what Mario has been able to do. There's people that are like, oh, I outgrew Nintendo. No, you didn't. You just chose to stop playing Nintendo.
Well, and the things that they would have to do, which sounds silly, they would have to make sure they have Sly Cooper backpacks for back to school ready. They would need to like make sure they put anything they can have that a kid would like that character on it. Because like right now they release like, oh, here's like a Sly Cooper T-shirt, but it's advertised to us. It's advertised to older people. And they would have to basically just treat whatever character they would want to posterize as Mario. And like,
yeah, I mean, it just takes so long too. Like, and you also just have to get lucky. Like, I could put a Mario hat on the dining room table of my parents' house, and my dad, who has probably never picked up a console video game controller in his life other than to move my stuff out of his way, would know that that's Mario's hat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, because it's become iconic. Ratchet would have to almost start from square one in terms of that, because like, we know iconic Ratchet and Clank things,
but you couldn't go however long we went between Rift Apart, however long that was. What was that, like 5 years? Yeah. 5, 4, 5. Yeah. You couldn't go that big of a gap right now.
Yeah.
In terms of like attention span of the consumer, like you can't.
You would have had to have either another game or just something that ties into it, which is what
they'd have to put out a Miles Morales like adventure every 10 to 12 months.
I think that's what they were trying to do during the PS3 era, because like Ratchet and Clank had their mainline games, then they had PlayStation All-Stars, which they were in, and then they had like that one move co-op game that was like Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank, and I think something else partnered up.
And then they had the All for One.
Yeah, All for One. Yeah, they would need to do something like that just to get the mascot used to being visible, and just work that way to get it done. So I don't know. I almost feel like it would be best if they just start fresh. Like, hope they.
So, like, yeah, I mean, like that. If you ever read or listen to like the book, like Console Wars, I think it was what it was called. Yeah. The one that talked about Sega, as Sega went after Nintendo like heavily, and they hired somebody from like an American toy company, and he was instrumental in his team as well as Sega Japan team of building Sonic. Mm-hmm. And, and Sonic still to this day, even though his games are terrible, he is an iconic figure. People know who Sonic is. And the same thing is, I could put Sonic's on the dining room table in front of my dad, and he would be able to name who he is at 70 years old.
Yeah,
but he couldn't tell me who Ratchet is.
No, you could give him like 10 guesses, and he'd probably be like, I don't know, Sonic. Like, and that's a shame too, because like, the games are definitely of a high quality that they
100%.
Definitely deserve to be seen by more people, but it just comes down to like marketing and then just establishing it. Again, it's fake it till you make it in some scenarios, to where you just have to just bombard people.
Well, it's safe. Like, Nintendo is safe. No matter what you do, like grandma and grandpa, mom and dad, I can buy a Nintendo, I can put my kid in front of the Nintendo and not, it's getting a little dying light being on the Switch. Like, like, I don't think that would have been like 10 years ago we would have seen that, like, as Nintendo was like trying to evolve and do more. But for the most part, you pick up a Nintendo franchise and it's safe for your son, daughter, like aunt or niece or nephew just to sit there and play it and not have to worry about watching them.
Paper Mario came out this year or last year?
Last year. Okay.
But like within still a year span, it's like
last year at the beginning of the summer, May or June.
But even then, if you look at like a 2-year period, it's Paper Mario came out, and then this year alone we have Aces, or the golfing one, and then Mario Party comes out this year. So within like a 2-year span, there's like 3 Mario games.
Luigi's Mansion's in there somewhere within the last 2 years. As well.
Yeah. So like that just shows you like even though all those Mario games have reviewed well, and Mario Party will review well, even when there's
the golf game, not so much.
Yeah, but even when there's a dud, it doesn't matter, because in 6 months there's going to be a new Mario game. So they'll have another shot at it.
Yeah, it's just crazy to think about, like how fast the turnaround can be on that stuff, and it's just nuts.
Yeah.
So.
And then people.
But yeah, I applaud Jim Ryan for thinking that you can do that. But
it should be his goal as the head of the company to one day sell, hundreds of millions, or get hundreds of millions of people to play it. But
I think he should have been even more transparent in this conversation of like, that's a long-term play.
Yeah. Well, I would assume most people would like imagine that would be a long-term play, but at least he's willing to admit like their current like wall that they have to break through, of just like, hey, our games, they hit 10 to 20 million people, and that's like as far as we go. And at least he shows frustration and is transparent with like, yeah, our games can't pass 10, 20 million copies sold, and honestly, outside of Spider-Man doing it, like I don't think they were doing consistently past 10 million outside of Spider-Man. Maybe The Last of Us did well, that it passed that threshold, but I applaud him for being like transparent enough, but I also agree with you as well. Of just like,
yeah, and there's a difference between there's a huge difference between popular and profitable. Huge difference. Like their games are tremendously profitable. We think, or like we feel that they are just based on sales figures and reported of how much it costs to make a game.
They're still in business.
Yeah.
But that's all I had for the news. I thought it would be a fun discussion to talk about if they have anything to break through.
I think we got a couple weeks in a row of stuff that's not delayed. Although I didn't get a chance to mess with it at all. But talking to a couple of my friends, it sounds like Battlefield needs to be delayed.
Oh yeah, I did play that beta too. So I'll talk about that in a couple minutes.
So what we're playing and watching, I have had I'm in a funk again. I think I go through this every, I don't know, 8 to 10 months. But a lot of it is, some of it is just stuff that's going on with work and home, like being on nights and then on days and then on nights and then on days. It looks like I'll be on days, knock on wood, at least for the rest of this year. So like that, trying to get back into that activity. Like I talked about last week, we did get the Peloton. So trying to do a little bit more taking care of myself, although it's only like 20-25 minutes a day that it's taking, every other day actually that's taking up. So that, just is something that's there, but just, there's been a lot of work that we're doing at home. Trying to just make sure that, like we did some, big financial moves and, just trying to take care of ourselves. If you're friends with me on Facebook, I put a big Facebook post of all the stuff that we've changed at home in the last like 2.5 years. And it's crazy. Like when you actually like list it all down on paper, it's crazy. And it's taking a little bit of its toll on me as we're going through some of these transitions. And I don't know if anybody's ever like gotten new things, like just sometimes putting something together. Like we got new stupid stuff. We got new lamps and, for our bedroom, like three matching lamps for our bedroom. There's like one of them set up and I'm getting annoyed. And I bought a new dehumidifier for my basement because I need one and I need to like set it up. And like those things like take some time. And I've just been watching just crap as background noise, like just stupid, terrible movies. I watched Grown Ups again randomly, both of them. But it wasn't, I wasn't like sitting there watching them. It was just something that was on while I was doing something else. Like even like today, another, like one of my first days off in work after closing like 4 or 5 days in a row, we had new appliances delivered today, fridge, stove, and microwave. No, fridge, stove, and dishwasher. We're gonna buy a microwave. That's why it's on my head. But I've never hooked a dishwasher up before, so yeah. I learned how to do that, with my father-in-law's help. And we had to run a gas line for the stove that we did that like 2 weeks ago. And my brother-in-law was nice enough to help with that. And that's an entire night. And it just kind of takes this mental toll on you. Owen's fully in the routine of going to school right now. So like some of that's, trying to make sure that he stays on his routine. It's different not having the older kids at home. Mm-hmm. Like it's dramatically different not having the older kids at home. So I have not had a chance to play as much video games as I want to. I have barely, if at all, gotten to Far Cry, and I'm dreading. As I told Michael this before, like I played a significant amount of Far Cry for that preview event that I did, which is awesome, and I appreciate Ubisoft tremendously for doing it. But I got to go through that again.
Yeah,
like so, and it's definitely taken its toll. I looked the other day. And I played today a little bit because the Halloween event for Destiny started. So I played like a half an hour today while I was waiting for something I was actually like, I think I was waiting for the dishwasher to make sure it was full of water and level. But today was the first day that I signed on to Destiny since September 20th. So like almost like 3 full weeks, like 3 full resets. Like that's a significantly long time for me to not sign into Destiny. But then also I was having a hard time, other than playing a little bit of Sackboy with Owen, I was having a hard time remembering the last like video game stuff that I played. Yeah. Now it is not, it by all means is not have anything to do with the lack of quality or quantity of things to play. I still want to finish Kenna. I want to play Far Cry. I want Metroid Dread. like there's Back for Blood, which is on Game Pass, which looks super interesting. It's like, so there's these games, and there's groups of people in my Destiny communities that are asking or like are looking for things to do, and I'm like, no, I'm at work. No, I can't do that tonight. I gotta finish this. So it's definitely like, I feel like the stuff is starting to lighten up a little bit, but I almost have to be on purpose. And then when I actually try to play video games, I feel like I've got some like eye fatigue, exhaustion going on, like because I haven't played them in so long. So I'm not really sure how I'm going to fix that.
Yeah.
Angela found or tripped upon, she loves to hunt things. It's what she has a huge passion for. I told her she got on this kick about getting a Switch OLED because like it was one of those things where like, oh, it's hard to get. She's like, oh yeah, watch. and she got one, and my current Switch isn't reading every single game as much as I want to. I feel like I got to do the thing where like trying to push the cartridge in a little harder just to get it to read. So I didn't get an OLED because like I need it. I got an OLED because she got an OLED because she could. And I'll probably sell my other one and just have the upgrade just to be safe. We didn't get the white one. We got the regular blue and red one.
Yeah.
I haven't picked it up yet. So, but we'll see where we're going from with that. I'll definitely like take some pictures and see. This is also the reason why I'm actually been a little bit more pro digital games lately, because like Owen's lost the Switch game now. Mm-hmm. Like I can't find Bowser's Fury. That's the other Mario game that we like. Mario Bowser Fury
and 3D All Stars.
Yeah. So like, we've lost that Switch cartridge. But also like I like the ability of like Metroid Dread. It would be a game that I would play. I'd probably love it, enjoy it. It'd probably be a top 5 or 10 game for 2021 for me. But then I would be done with it, and I would probably sell it to somebody or give it away or trade it in or something. And that's where the cartridge comes in handy. But I don't want to run the risk of losing that crap.
Yeah.
So,
that's an Owen thing.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, like we haven't even really been watching our court. Like some of our fall shows are back, and we haven't been watching them because she's tired or I'm closing at work, and there's so much stuff going on. Like it's just, I feel bad for you guys that are listening to me, like that to talk. I love to play video games, but I'm just in this rut right now. I wouldn't even really call it a rut. I'm just in this part of my life right now where video games are 3rd or 4th on the list, and by the time I get down to the 3rd or 4th thing on the list, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just we haven't even watched Ted Lasso season finale. That was last Friday. A lot of people have been talking about. So we're just like super behind. I mean, this weekend, like we're gonna do the parental good thing. We're gonna take Owen to a pumpkin patch, and we're gonna pick out some pumpkins and carve some pumpkins and have some fall fun with him. Let him do backflips off of like hay bales or whatever. I don't know.
Sounds dreadful.
So
I've been playing video games though.
Yeah.
I did play Battlefield 2042 beta. Holy shit, that game's buggy, but it's a beta.
Keep in mind it's probably something that was done in April or May.
Yeah, like shooting wise, it felt fine. It felt good. It felt like a Battlefield game, but overall, it was super buggy. I ended up like getting bored after like 2 rounds of just glitching out and characters ragdolling weirdly. Super broken. I can see why they delayed it the extra month that they did, just because it did not leave a great impression on me, even though yes, it's a beta. I know people are going to criticize like that's what betas are for, but holy shit, like I had never like turned off, because I played buggy betas before, but like that one I just got like so annoyed at of like things clipping, characters like glitching out after they die, and just weird stuff. Like at one point I went in an elevator, and the elevator, like my screen was glitching, like going up and down, but the elevator wasn't actually moving. It was super weird. It was like the elevator was like a ghost elevator moving in the elevator I was in. Super bizarre stuff.
These and the Battlefield games carry significant weight. I was having a conversation in a Discord server I'm in with some other friends, and I was like, no, these, like other than 5, like Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 1 are in the top 20 or top 25 list of games of the 2010 decade of like best selling. So like there is a substantial pedigree surrounding this game. Is it Cyberpunk buggy? No, because the game's not out yet.
Yeah.
So you can't call it that.
Yeah,
So-
it wasn't Cyberpunk buggy, and then you give it a pass because it's still a beta, so they're lucky they slapped beta on there, not demo.
it is concerning though that you're playing a game that comes out in a month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I don't know, because sometimes they'll say the build under like where it says beta. I can't remember if it said that, but they need to get out there and be like, hey, this build is from August or something.
It's better be older than that.
Yeah, but anything that says like, hey, this isn't like super current, we're just testing the servers sort of thing.
Well, and let's be realistic though, okay? Like by the time Battlefield 2042 would be, what I call quote unquote solid, it's going to be Easter.
Oh, you mean like by the time it's
like the game's going to come out, it's going to have its problem. Like this game is still coming out before Thanksgiving. It's going to have its problems. It's going to have its connection problems. They're going to be working on things. It's going to have its balance problems. It's going to have its issues. By the time that they get onto like where like the tides aren't like flipping over boats, it's going to be Easter.
When is
and
Easter again?
Be
Because
like,
I'm not a religious person.
It's April.
April. I don't think it'd be that long before it stabilizes. I think they're more aware of what
it'll be when they drop the next piece of seasonal content for it.
I don't know. April sounds like a long time. But
Battlefield 4 took almost a year.
But it was still playable. The beta was borderline unplayable. Like I after like 2.5 matches, I was just like, I can't do this because it was just so broken. I don't think it will be that broken until April.
No, I don't. I'm not saying it's going to be that broken, but I'm saying it will have its issues.
Yeah, and any multiplayer games will have issues. Yeah. You just have to hope that because they're EA, they throw enough money at it, or do the smart thing of like, hey, DICE, sit down for a little bit. We're gonna have Respawn take a look at the engine and see what they can do. So I played some of that. Metroid Dread. I played just like 2-3 hours of it. I was just basically doing that while I was watching like the White Sox games. Just feeling sad because I don't have an OLED because I refuse to buy one right now because I know they're going to fucking announce a Pro next year and I don't want to have an OLED in my hand and then...
I don't think they're going to announce a Pro that close, but okay.
I think it'll be announced and then probably out the next year sort of scenario, and it's throwing 350 on it right now just doesn't seem right for me. But I'm enjoying it, playing it handheld, of course, because that's the only way I play Switch games. It's really nice. Like it starts off just a little slow because like they just give you like paragraphs of just like this is what this means.
They have to hold their hand too.
Yeah. So like getting through the tutorial stuff, especially if you've played a Metroid game. Like I've played Metroid games, never really finished any of them, but I've played them enough to where it's just like yeah, I know how to do all this stuff. And when it's just like telling you like, oh hey. This
is a 20-year-old sequel, though. The crazy part is that the last time you probably played a Metroid like this, you were in high school.
Yeah, outside of like revisiting stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really nice. Like I love the music. The art design still holds up for Metroid side scroller game. This game feels great on the Switch. I'm using a Pro controller though, so I haven't used it with Joy-Cons, but I don't imagine it being that much different with it. So like I'm enjoying playing like a Metroid game right now on the Switch. Part of the reason why I bought it, I was going to wait for it to possibly hit a sale, which never happens for Nintendo games. But it's one of those franchises, I know how much this means to the fans, and Nintendo kind of ignores it because Metroid never really sells that well compared to their other mega hits. So I was like, you know what, let me just buy it day one, enjoy it, support this franchise. So I've just been going through that. It's a perfect Switch game now. Like this Metroid is so
a 2D side-scrolling precision platformer.
Yeah,
like, they're just
handheld. Like this was made for this format. Yeah. So it feels like the perfect thing for the Switch. And I know people want the 3D Metroids and all that stuff, and Nintendo might be sitting on some of those. But like
Metroid Prime or whatever.
Yeah, but I really think like this is the way Metroid should be enjoyed, and then they can pump these out way faster than they can pump out like 3D Metroids. But I'm looking forward to...
Yeah, maybe the sequel to Dread will only take 10 years instead of 20.
Exactly. So I'm enjoying playing that. Still playing Deathloop, though. I think I'm getting close to the end of that to where like I've kind of hit the wall of just like, okay, there's like realistically like 2 or 3 ways that this game wants me to take care of this as opposed to the promise
There's no more juice in the fruit.
Kind of, because like I'm still exploring and like get everything done, but I basically found like the path you're supposed to take, and I'm just like, I don't want to take that path, so I'm just really kicking every corner I can and checking for variants that I can do. But the big thing is Back for Blood came out Friday and Tuesday. Friday came out for the Ultimate Edition, and then it came out Tuesday today for all the consoles and with crossplay. So I ended up playing it late last night on the PlayStation. Just because
so you bought it.
Yeah. So like just because I wanted to play it earlier with friends, and I just wanted to have fun with that, and I'm gonna download it on Xbox as well, though there's no cross progression, which bums me out.
Really?
Yeah, as far as I know, there's no cross progression, so I'm gonna.
Is there cross play?
Yeah, cross play, no cross progression.
That's really weird.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to restart it on Xbox because I don't want to take up the living room TV the entire time.
Yeah.
But I don't care because it's one of those games. It's just super easy to just get into and play with friends. So I ended up staying till like 2:30 in the morning last night playing it as soon as it unlocked for one of my friends. Basically at midnight it unlocked for them, and we played from like midnight to 2:30. Pretty much just went through a little past like the tutorial stuff that you do in the beta, like so Act 1 and a little bit into Act 2, and it's just been enjoying. It's been like one of the fun things to play, and because I did the alpha and did the beta, just seeing what they tweaked from the alpha, the beta, and then into the final game, and just really diving into the card system, learning how to like manage your deck, build that out, looking at the cosmetics, which I have to say the cosmetics are actually pretty terrible in this game. Like they have different like outfits you can put on the characters, and there's like gun skins that you can put on, but it was all pretty bland. Like I don't see myself engaging at all with like the cosmetics whatsoever. But the card stuff is a really fun way to like play this style of game, just to see all the different variants that it can cause, and then working with your teammates to make sure they have a good deck, and then if they have cards that benefit the whole team, making sure they apply those cards to the matches. One thing I did notice though is the AI seems to be a little bit more aggressive about standing still than it was in the beta, because we found a couple times where we would just kind of like we know where we need to go to progress, but we would stand still for a little bit and like shoot the shit or look at all of our guns, and that having the AI director just throwing like mini bosses at you to kind of like push you along was pretty interesting, which I'm assuming that's intentional, because since it's a co-op game, an always online co-op game, they don't want you to play with someone random that's holding up the game. So the game making sure that they throw characters at throwing enemies at you is a way to make sure everyone is paying attention and playing, so no one can go AFK. And if they do, they'll end up just getting killed by a mini boss. So I appreciate that aspect. It is a bummer though that the solo play is like super nerfed. If you do play it by yourself, you can't unlock achievements. There's other different things.
You cannot?
You cannot. Yeah.
That's weird.
Like the in-game achievements don't work if you do solo, and there's a bunch of other things that are like disabled. Like I think your certain progress is disabled.
I just looked it up. There is no cross progression.
Yeah.
Which I guess when you have cross play, I guess that, like why put the assets into cross progression when the gaming company is like, well, we just want you to buy it on one platform and then play with whoever you want.
Yeah. Though they do have you like sign into an account, which makes me think it could be coming in the future if it's holding that information somewhere. But again, like because the gameplay's so easy to jump in and jump out, I'm not really worried about starting fresh. I mean, I won't have my cards if I jump to a different platform. But
yeah, but if you're ready to do like a try-hard thing, you're just going to go, you would really go grab your PlayStation and bring it over and hook it up to your other TV if you really wanted to do something like that.
And even then, like the card system is important to the game, but like there was a good hour where my friend was engaging in a card system like fully, and I was just like, I don't give a shit about the cards. And I was still able to have fun and play the game because it's still
which
just
means
shoot
that the game
zombies.
has, about to say, the core gameplay loop is solid.
Yeah. So you don't have to engage with the card stuff too much. But once you get into the rhythm and learn how they work and learn how different combinations can help you progress, especially on the higher difficulties, you're going to want to engage in the cards. But if you're just good at a shooter, like you'll be fine just blasting through the zombies with all the guns. There's one thing that I wish they would add is, so there's like attachments that you can pick up for weapons. As far as I can tell, you can't detach things once you attach them to your weapon. So there's been a couple times where I accidentally put a scope on a gun because I just wanted to see how it works. And then
there has to be.
I couldn't find one. I even asked my friend playing. I'm like, hey, attach a scope to your gun, see if you can take it off. And he couldn't figure out how to do it anyway. So if there is, it's just not very clear. So there's a couple times where
or do you replace it with the non-scope again instead of detaching? Do you replace it?
Yeah, that's what I have to see if there's anything I can replace it. Because at one point I put a scope on a shotgun just because I'm like, you can't do this.
Oh boy!
And I did it, and then I'm like just trying to get rid of it.
That's the last thing you want to do is ADS a sniper scope on a shotgun.
But it let me do it, and then I was just like, shit, what am I gonna do? So I ended up just throwing the shotgun away, even though it was powerful, and then use a regular machine gun or something. So there's things that they could definitely tweak in that game. But yeah, enjoying that. That's probably going to be the game I end up staying up way too late to play. Like, as soon as we're done recording, I'm going to hit up my friend group because I have like 6 people that are
that's awesome,
actively playing it. So I'll probably hit them up.
Fantastic.
And that's really it. I've just been watching a bunch of scary movies for the other podcast, and just because me and Sarah like scary movies.
So yeah, but say like Halloween stuff does it for you?
Yeah, though Halloween, or horror movies in general, it's so hard to find a good one, but I do enjoy bad movies, so that kind of helps.
Yeah. No, I was just more wondering, like I was looking at some, like today, like when I signed into Destiny for the Festival of the Lost, the Halloween event, I'm looking at all this, like they've got some really cool looking cosmetic stuff in there, but I'm like, I don't want, like there's dinosaur armor. It looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Like they did a whole like Jurassic Park play on thing. I'm like, I don't want a pumpkin emote for more than like 3 weeks.
Yeah,
and I'm done with it.
When I was into Overwatch, I loved all the Halloween costumes, but I wouldn't do the emotes or anything like that, or the sprays, because it's like out of season it makes no sense. But sometimes you get a cool skin that you're just like, okay,
yeah,
I could be into this. But most of the time, like the Halloween anything,
it just seems a little bit too pigeonholed for me. That's all. Like I get like especially when they do like an Olympic event, there's some cool looking thing that you can wear like year round. But like the Halloween stuff just looks so Halloween. Yeah,
no, I could definitely see that. I get like that with Christmas stuff. Like when Overwatch was doing Christmas stuff, it's like, I'm not going to wear this Santa hat.
I don't want to drive a motorcycle around that looks like a sleigh. Yeah. I'm not going to be doing that in February or March.
Yeah, but in the moment, I do enjoy that stuff. But like, as soon as the holiday's over, I'm de-skinning, all the Halloween stuff or all the Christmas stuff. So I'm just like watching a bunch of random movies still. I did finish Ted Lasso season 2, which was pretty good. Like I'm still
you're ahead of me now.
Yeah, I'm still enjoying that show. I'm right now. I know I'm going to start Squid Game because everyone keeps talking about that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I don't.
But like, it's hit the point where I'm so tired. I'm absolutely fucking tired of people recommending it to me, to where I almost am just like out of.
I'm not going to watch it because you're saying so.
Yeah, no, and that's why I don't watch certain TV shows. Like because people just talk about them so much. So I'm just like, maybe I won't watch it, but. I'll watch it because I was already interested in it before it turned into this phenomenon, but it just turning into a meme fest has slowed me down on watching it.
I did end up watching Black Widow again. It's on Disney Plus now.
How did it hold up the second viewing?
Yeah, I thought it was good. It's funny. It's got a good dynamic to it. It'll be interesting to see how it just further fascinates me of like what's going to happen in the rotation next with the Hawkeye show coming in a month, in like 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. There's definitely ties to that. Obviously, we know there's a tie to Black Widow and Hawkeye.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious to see how the storyline's going. Marvel's kind of like in this pause standpoint right now. Like 10 Rings was great, Black Widow was great, but like their Disney Plus shows are they're just not there right now.
Yeah.
So, but I'd be curious. Like Eternals is like next week, right?
First week in November, I think.
Yeah. So like, I wonder if how much Eternals is going to push the storyline, because I saw some other headline where like Eternals is going to be like one of the longer Marvel movies, like the top 5 Marvel movies, like which we're talking like 3 hours.
Which makes sense for like that set of characters, because you're having to introduce the audience to like a completely different thing they haven't seen before. But I still waiting for 10 Rings to hit Disney Plus.
I think that's like in 2 weeks, they said.
I hope so. Yeah, because I need to see that before Eternals. And then
yeah, I think they will. I think that they're trying to be smart with that. But you know, it's just interesting. Just to see where they are at with this stuff, and how they're progressing. Progressing it. So, November 12th.
So like
is when it hits.
I think a week after Eternals. I think Eternals is still like November 7th or November 5th, something like that. So I'll probably wait for Eternals to hit Disney Plus.
November 5th.
Yeah.
Yep. So I guess that's a little bit of a miss. Like, I think that you could have like really got a huge push for Eternals if you would have got 10 Rings on Disney Plus before Eternals.
I don't
came
understand
out.
how that doesn't happen. Because it makes perfect sense to get people excited for the new movie coming out by.
As soon as you like click on 10 Rings, there's an advertisement or a trailer for Eternals before you watch the movie.
Yeah.
Like go watch it in theaters next week. But yeah, like as similar to you, like I've been in baseball and football, like just like having the playoff games on. It's been fascinating. So, all right, so we're gonna move on to questions and comments. We just got one. He used hashtag #AshDigitalDays. Stefan Wren. Would you ever do base jumping or any other activity out of the Just Cause games? So go ahead, Michael.
After I saw what happened to Peggy Hill, I probably would never do skydiving. Just because, hell no. Like I'm interested in like skydiving, but like that King of the Hill episode traumatized me for skydiving.
I would 100% skydive. I would love to. I'm trying to think of what the name of it is, but like fly suit, the body, like the stick your
suit?
arms out and the squirrel suit. I would do that. And zip lining, we've actually come really, really close to doing some zip lining before. I would do that. Bungee jumping, base jumping. I don't know. I have a little bit of. I think that would like falling down and then getting yanked back up and falling again would mess with me a little bit. I'm not afraid of skydiving. My brother was in the Air Force, and he probably hundreds and hundreds of thousands of jumps out of a plane, and he's perfectly fine.
I would just
from jumping. He's perfectly fine from jumping out of planes. He's got other issues too, but
like for the most part, like I know like your first like 2 or 3 skydiving, depending on what state you're in, you have to be attached to the person, which I could probably do that, but I would need to like a psychological analysis of the person who's in charge of.
I would love to skydive with a board, like a surfboard or an airboard or whatever. I think I would have a blast.
I would need to have like dinner with whoever is going to be attached to me the night before, just to make sure everything's cool with them, like. And their personal life before I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna attach myself to you and hope you pull this cord. Like, I would need to get to know that person.
You don't have to pull the cord. There's another cord that pulls it at a certain depth or certain height.
I just want to make sure my grounds are covered. I'm super nervous of like, oh yeah, the emergency cord's by your stomach, and I'll be like this cord, and then I pull it, and like I would need to make sure the person helping me is like all there before I jump with them.
Yeah. All right, so you can send us questions. Again, I didn't say Air Force, I said Airborne. I just said it quickly, Ange. So I know where my brother was stationed. So you can send us questions using hashtag AskDigitalDays. You can send them on Discord. You can send them on Twitter, Facebook group, any of those. Spotlight, our Patreon episode for September is up. It is the greatest gaming gear. We've gotten a little bit of feedback on that, so we appreciate that as well as always for those supporters. Again, our Patreon, so patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming. $1 tip jar, $3 Discord channel private access, $5 gets you the podcast on Wednesday morning instead of Thursday morning. And then the $7 gets you the monthly bonus episode along with 24-hour early access to the episode as well. Facebook and Discord are linked in the show notes, so please check those out. Join the group, join the conversations, hang out with the community. Socials, you can follow the main account at Digital Days Pod. You can follow Michael at The First MJC. You can follow myself at Good Dave Hunt. I think that's it. You got anything else?
No, that'll be it. Though I would be interested, people listening, if you made it this far, like if you think Sony has that IP that could break through at a Mario level. I'd be interested to see people in the Facebook group or on Twitter throwing out franchises and why. they think they could break through for the Mario level. But other than that, we'll probably just have more Metroid talk and Back 4 Blood talk next week. Dave will probably get some Far Cry in, and then I'm sure there's like 3 games releasing that we don't know we're going to be playing yet.
Yeah. So if there's anything that's on that you guys want to hear our thoughts on, please just send it to us on Facebook, Twitter, Discord, just message us. There's multiple ways to get a hold of myself and Michael. We can definitely, I'm not sitting there saying like we're loaded or something, but we're as we're getting towards the game of the year conversation, the end of the year, if there's something that you think's on your radar that you want us to check out, like we can make a purchase and check some things out. So please let us know. We want to make sure it's October. We got to start planning some of that stuff about when we're going to do that, how we're going to do that. So Extra Life, I will have one of our community members. He's been doing it for like 10 plus years. Roy Gibbs, he's in our Facebook group. He posted in the Facebook group, and I will try to link his Extra Life in the show notes. He's doing that on November 6th. So I'm not sure if he's streaming it or not. I'll find out, but his link is in Facebook, and we'll put it in the show notes. Please consider donating to him. If anybody else in our community is doing Extra Life, please let us know. We will try to share your links as much as possible. I will make every effort to possibly join you for something if we can make our platforms match up, if you'd like, and also we'll promote your streams and stuff like that if you're streaming. So unfortunately, I just don't think Extra Life is going to work in the current situations that Michael and I have with it being in November, but it's still a phenomenal charity to help support, and phenomenal that any of our community members are doing so, and we would love to highlight those people as much as possible. So please let us know. Other than that, I hope everyone has a great week. Keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya.